Our next presenter is Sherri Osaka, and she's one of our own members of the Landscape Committee. And how many of you are both licensed landscape architects and have a degree in electrical engineering? Raise your hand. That would be Sherri. But Sherri is really a leading light, if not the leading light, of native plants in Santa Clara County, and we are just very fortunate to have her sharing her expertise today. Sherri?
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's a very unusual career path, but it works for me. It works for me really well. So, hello. I'm going to do a quick, can we switch out this, it's not working. The battery is really low. Okay, I can do that. Okay, so I'm going to take you on a little journey of, at my house, I save 100,000 gallons a year at my house. And I don't do it with any large water tanks or sophisticated gray water. It's all through conservation. So I kind of wanted to take you on that. But before I talk about that, I also do a lot of classes through the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency. Okay, that one's mine. Yeah, this one I'll keep, and then you can, wait, no, that's the other way around. There we go. So I do these classes, and they're all about either native plants or water conservation. So I have just a few slides that just kind of give you a little bit of background, and it'll kind of give you a little bit of an intro into what I'm going to talk about next. So you probably all know this. I come from Michigan, so we already heard that a lot of us from the Midwest move out to sunny California, because we know a good thing when we see it. So you can see the difference in water. So I was used to like 36 inches a year of water. We didn't really have an irrigation system at our house. We just watered with one of those, remember those oscillating sprayers? Thank you so much. You can see that San Francisco gets about 22 inches a year, and here in San Jose we get 15 inches. That's on average, that's 1.25 feet of water a year. Does anybody know what a desert is? How many inches a year for a desert? Less than 10 is correct. Good guess though, good guess, keep guessing. So less than 13. Does anybody know how many inches we got in San Jose in 2013? During the real height of the drought. That is really close. Somebody said 3.5 inches. That is a drought, right? We lived through that. And I have to, kudos to the Santa Clara Valley Water District. They do so much, so creative, and worked so hard to really help us all conserve. So not only is it the amount of water that we get, but it's when we get it. So what you see here, that green line, that's what I was used to in Michigan. That's pretty much constant water. It's either raining or snowing all the time in Michigan. At least it seemed like that when I was there. But in California, of course, we know that we get most of our rain during a certain few months of the year, and then we're dry the rest of the year. So in that, what I always tell my class attendees, that's a Mediterranean climate. It's warm and dry, cool and wet. We have got 2 seasons here, folks. So we both have a small amount of water, and it all comes at the same time. And our plants are really adapted. Our native plants are really adapted to that. I don't have time to talk about it. Come to one of my classes sometime. I'll tell you about all the different adaptations that they do to really survive in this very harsh Mediterranean climate. I've heard that we are the harshest Mediterranean climate. We have the highest fluctuations in temperature and the longest amount of drought. So that's pretty incredible. So I do have 2 pieces of homework for you, which I hope you will all go back and do. And this is what I do for all my audience members and classes. Does anybody know how much water they use in a year? There's got to be somebody here. Golden, Golden, I was going to rely on you. I know you're going to make me look bad, though, if I ask you. Wait, hold on. Does anybody else know how much water they use in a year? Oh, man, you guys. Okay, Golden, go ahead. Oh my gosh, all right. I really thought you were going to. Okay, you guys all have some homework to do tonight when you go home. So most of our water bills are for 2 months. I think Palo Alto, they get a bill once a month. So every 2 months, so if you get 6 water bills and add up the amount of water, you will know how much water you use in a year. 1 CCF, that's what our water bills are. That's the units in our water bills, and that equals 748 gallons. I don't know how big a CCF is, but I know how big a gallon is, so that really makes a difference to me. So I challenge you all, go home, figure out how many gallons of water you use in a year, and then start comparing. Like Kevin said, you've got to know where you are. You've got to start measuring where you are in order to know where you're going to get to, okay? So this is what I did, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. The second piece of homework, and again, this is for all my class attendees, once a year, I would love it if everybody would check their water meter to see if they have a leak. It's very easy to do. You go out to your water meter. There's usually like a little red triangle, and if all the water's shut off in your house, your irrigation system's not on, that triangle should not be moving, okay? If you don't have a little triangle, you can wait 5 minutes and then come back and look at the little needle. The needle should be in exactly the same place, okay? I've had a lot of leaks in my house, and you can't see this EPA quote, but they said that 1 in every 10 homes has a leak that is wasting 90 gallons of water per day. That's a lot. How many people do you think we have in this room here today? 90? So that means 9 of you have a leak. So that's about 32,000 gallons a year. That's a lot of water, okay? So 2 homework assignments, if you would, I would be so happy. Okay, and then just another piece of information, you probably know this, landscape watering is a majority of the water that is used at residences. It's been really interesting to see how this has changed the way water retailers and water districts have changed their programs. They used to do a lot of, hey, change out your washing machine, change the aerators in your faucet, get some new toilets. Now everything is focusing on the landscape. That's putting a lot of pressure on us in this industry. There's a lot of water that is unfortunately being wasted in the landscapes. We know that there's 57% is for landscaping and 9% is overwatering. So the focus is on us. We really have to do a better job. We've got to keep improving things for our clients. But we don't have to have something that looks like a desert in order to do that. Does anybody else remember the red lava rock and the succulents and cacti in the 70s, right? We don't have to go there. We don't have to go there. So the other piece of information, yes, ma'am.
Does the purple also represent if there are pools in the home? Is that part of it?
That would be part of it, yes, yes. And I do have a pool. I'll talk to you about my situation, but I do have a pool too. The other piece of information that you should look at, oops, sorry, that was not what I wanted to do, is the new home water use. So it's 174,000 gallons. That's according to the California building industry. It's a little old, January 2010. I should update that, I will. But when you go back and do your homework, I hope you'll compare that to that 174,000 gallons. Okay. So this is my little private journey. What happened was the winter of 1999, I walked out into my backyard and I was ankle deep in water. And it was not raining at all. What I discovered was there was a main line to some valves that were in the back of my property. I didn't know they were even there. We had just moved in not too long before. And that main line had broken. You know, I didn't know it. I called up my water retailer, which is San Jose Water Company, and I was like, hi, Kirk. I was like, oh my God, there's a leak, you know, help, can you do something? They're like, okay, get it fixed right away. We'll give you a little bit of a break. Do they still do that, Kurt? Yeah. We'll give you a little bit of a break. But I think that water bill was 252 CCF. Nobody knows what that means. So usually I use about maybe 13, 14 CCF in a 2-month period. That was a big one. So after that I said, okay, I am going to track my water every single billing period that I get. See, I'm just trying to keep track of the time too here. Okay, so I have done that for almost 20 years. Every 2 months. Did anybody? I'm a little OCD. Did you hear that I was an engineer before? So yes. So every 2 months I'm tracking it. But it has been a great tool for me. I had no idea how much it would help me with my clients. In 2014, when the drought hit, I had a lot of people calling me. It's like, they're like, oh my God, I have these huge water bills. What can I do? I knew how to help them. I knew how to figure out their indoor water, how to figure out their outdoor water. I knew how much their landscape how much water it should be using versus how much it was using. So this turned out to be a very good tool for me and for my clients. I wanted to just go through just a couple of other things. I did find another leak in 2006. Late at night, it'd be very quiet in the house, and I could hear water running. It's like, oh, crap. We finally found out there was a slab in one part of the house, and there was another broken line there. In 2009, we had the lawn removed and checked the main line at that point in time, and the connection to the house, there was also a leak there. 2010, you can see it was a little bit rainy. 2011, we had to refill our pool, because we do have a pool, which we keep covered. 2014, I finally convinced my husband to change out all the toilets in the house. This was a big deal for him. One of the toilets, I kid you not, used 5 gallons of water per flush. Oh! 2015, I did have a weather track controller. I felt it was overwatering. I think for most clients, those are a really good thing to do, to have a smart controller. But if you really know what you're doing, which hopefully I do, you can do it manually, and I was able to save a lot more water. Yep. So just some pictures of kind of where I started. This is when we moved in 1994. We have a ranch house in Willow Glen. You can see there's a dead oak tree in front of you, a boxwood hedge, a birch, ivy. There's some junipers on the other side. There's another tree that had been topped. There's another oak tree that would fall down in the first storm that we had after we moved in. It's honestly a wildlife wasteland. If you're a bird or a butterfly or a bee, there is nothing here for you. It was really pretty sad. So as soon as I could, I started reducing the lawn. The front yard was really the sunniest part of the, hi Mitch, was really the sunniest part of the yard. So I put the lawn there because I had 2 small children, and started putting in native plants, replaced the oak trees, all of that. But my kids got older, and they weren't helping me mow the lawn. I do like to do the yard work. So as soon as I could, I took out the lawn in the front. I had Earth Care Landscaping help me with that. We put in a lot of inline drip everywhere. I saved newspapers for weeks in order to do the sheet mulching. And we also had an arborist. I have an arborist that comes every year, so we had him leave a lot of the arbor chips, and we did that for the sheet mulching. And this is what it looks like later. Much more friendly to birds and butterflies and bees. I get a ton of birds in my yard. This is my little Carex panza meadow, very drought tolerant. This is right after it was planted, and that's what it looks like 3 months later. Really, really love that meadow. And I encourage people to put in some areas that don't get irrigation, that don't really need irrigation. A lot of times if you use very low water, either Mediterranean or native plants, once they're established, you really don't need to water them, as Garth mentioned. This is just a picture of the backyard. Love buckwheats. If you're interested in coming to see my garden, I will be on the Going Native Garden Tour. This is a very, very fun event, over 50 gardens in a one weekend period. I'm in the South. I'm the Laurelwood Garden. You can come and say hello. So I did learn a lot of lessons through having a lot of my own native plants, but I think really the big takeaway is when you start to do your own measurement, you will get a lot of savings. I saved $600 a year in water. Not quite what the Kachina people did at the apartment complex, but I can buy an awful lot of native plants for $600 a year. And you just really learn a lot by tracking your own water, and it makes you a better landscaper and better able to help your clients. So thank you very much.